Hello and a sparkling welcome and a wonderful good morning to you, wherever you are in time and space. It is I, Sylvia Hartmann, coming to you live from beautiful Eastbourne by the Sea on this beautiful morning that is, it's bright and refreshing. And I've got the wind in my tail this morning, so I can't promise what's going to be happening here. But I'm here. I have my fun new love charm, my my layer cake pendant, and you might have seen the little video on it. It's really rather groovy. I'm really pleased with it, and hopefully, it's going to make me be lovely and friendly in amidst the ranting. Good morning, Marianne, my dear. I'm very happy that you are here with me this morning also. Yeah, cool. So before we get into it, like and subscribe, the usual stuff that makes YouTube happy. And let's just go into it. I start these Sunday lives with looking at the box where you have to type the title. And all I wanted to type today was that the reductionist materialism sucks. And that's going to be our topic today. I feel that people who do energy work have been on a back foot since the 1970s, when the weird and lame New Age came into being, and that we are always having to defend ourselves against, or we feel we have to defend ourselves against the intelligent people out there, the scientific community, or, the reasonable and rational people, that we're always having to defend ourselves. And I think there's a turning point. A turning point has come for me personally to really, and this, I've had it. I want the revolution now. I'm not apologizing anymore, and just, I mean, it's been since 2011 that I said to people, you have got to come out of the energy closet, people. You have got to stand up for energy and the reality of energy and your own personal experiences with energy. You can't just keep hiding in a closet and saying to people, oh, no, I don't believe in energy either. No, it's all just synapses firing in the brain. That's all there is to life, and there's nothing more than that. So that you don't get fired, or that your relatives don't shout at you, or you don't get invited to parties anymore, or whatever it is. This defensive underground kind of mentality of not talking about energy, not living your truth as a modern energist, because you're frightened that people will think you're a witch or just stupid or something. And then in 2011, I called for that, for people to come out of the energy closet. And quite a few people did, and that was nice. But we are now at a turning point here, and I really do feel that. I can feel the wind in my tail and under my wings, is that we have to go a lot further than this now and actually say, stop it with the reductionist materialism. It sucks. It doesn't work. It hasn't cured world hunger. It hasn't cured disease. It hasn't cured war. It hasn't cured nothing that's really important to human beings in their lives. It has failed. It has failed just as spectacularly as the old-fashioned way of attributing everything to gods and spirits and deities. That has failed as well. I mean, clearly, that wasn't doing too well. And so our friends from the so-called Age of Enlightenment, it's exactly the opposite, really. It's the age of non-enlightenment, and saying, okay, right, so we're not going to do anything invisible anymore. We're just going to, everything is based only on material processes. Everything. You can explain every single thing in the world, and including all human being doings and functionings, through material happenings, material, chemical, biological, just mechanical happenings. There's no such thing as spirit. There is no such thing as energy. This is all explicable in these mechanical, mechanistic ways. And guess what, people? It doesn't work, and it's not true, because there's more than science can measure currently. You know, this is the number one objection that I've heard for years and years and years is like, oh yeah, energy doesn't exist. You're just making it up, and it doesn't exist because you can't see it. And then you say, well, you can't see radio waves or radioactivity or sound waves for that matter, but they're real enough. Aha, they cry, but we can measure those. And I'm like, yeah, you can measure those for the last, 50 years, 100 years? Before that, you couldn't measure that because you didn't have the technology, you didn't have the mathematics, and you didn't have the instruments to measure that. Can you tell me that in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, it isn't going to be possible to measure at least the results of energy? Are you seriously going to tell me that science knows everything? Well, hopefully they fall silent at that point, but then some will argue along that. But by that time, I'm bored with this. I've been arguing these stupid things like, oh, why isn't your work peer reviewed? I love that one. Find my peers. Go on and find them. Go and bring them to me. I'll give them my work and they can review it. I'm still sitting here waiting. Find me a university that actually works with energy and emotions. Find me one. Be happy to give them my research results from the last 30 years. Duh. It's no good. It is just no good being on the back foot and defensive anymore. We got to be proactive and we got to be positive, and we have to literally plant our flag in the ground and say, okay, enough with this nonsense. Enough with this nonsense. There are things that are invisible. There is such a thing as energy. It is being exchanged between social mammals. I can make you a list of 500 studies you can make with mice, with rats, with dolphins, with people, with a mixture thereof, that will prove the existence of the exchange of something invisible that isn't a pheromone, that isn't a hormone, that isn't a low-level humming sound like a cat makes, but it actually is this living energy that is being exchanged between creatures and between creatures and the universe. And yes, yeah. And I'm super sorry you can't see it. Are you possibly on the spectrum? Ooh, now we're getting controversial. I'm going to say at this point, good morning to Linda and Bear and to Lucas. Good morning, my friends. Yeah, you've joined me here in a rant about standing up for energy and not apologizing for it anymore. See, I come originally from this animal behavior research. And we were looking, or so I thought, for the cause of rage syndrome. That was the brief. And of course, we looked at the material things. And we looked at the food and the chemical poisoning from crop spraying and genetic predisposition and all sorts of things, all the material things. One by one, we ticked the material things off the list. And nothing was even a candidate for this. Nothing was even a candidate for this clearly observable behavior in domesticated animals. That wasn't just, confined to one species. The original study started just with dogs and a subset Springer Spaniels, because they do it a lot. But I saw right away that it wasn't just Springer Spaniels, but every breed could do that. Not just every breed of dog. Cats could do it, horses could do it, cows could do it. And my 2-year-old son could do it too. This was a very structural thing that was going on there. And so I expanded my investigation beyond the strictly physical. And then one night it just went snap. There is this energy exchange. This has to do with love. Love isn't just a word. That there is a breakdown in this flow between creatures. And when this breakdown occurs, they freak out, really freak out. So this invisible stuff is driving extreme and extremely dangerous behaviors. Now, people can get killed by this when that happens. And they do, they do. Don't know how many people are sitting in prison right now to whom this happened and they went and killed somebody that they didn't mean to kill. And that's another part of my diatribe, my revolution, and what I'm sick to death of is people talking of subtle energy. This isn't subtle. People murdering people, this is not subtle at all. It's super unsubtle. And I am tired of apologizing or trying to couch what I'm saying in different terms as to not to upset the people who don't believe in energy. That has always been something that I don't do. And you could say, okay, and the reason you're not terribly successful and nobody's listening to you and you've got tiny YouTube channel and blah, blah, blah. There's exactly that reason. You should be telling people what they want to hear. You shouldn't be talking about energy at all. Because if you talk about energy, everybody thinks that you're just stupid and that you sit on your ass all day in a lotus position and sing or whatever and lick flowers. That's the one that always makes me laugh. And you couldn't get any further from the truth if you tried. And I have done this, really. I've done this. I've planted my flag in that energy place ever since 1993. When I got it, light bulb moment, how it works. And I saw it, and I saw that it was non-material, God damn it. It was non-physical. It wasn't synapses in the brain. It wasn't, fascia. What the fuck is fascia? See, the thing is this, when our materialistic reductionist friends or reductionist materialistic friends can't find the reason for something, they can't go into this wider observation field that I sort of entered, where I sat back and said, okay, I'm going to, like the detectives do when they're stuck with a crime. They go right back to the beginning. They start again right from the beginning and put all the clues out in front of them on a big board, and they sit back and they observe it with fresh eyes. And that is what my aspect did. But the reductionist materialists can't do that. They can't do that. So what they tend to do is come up with some kind of bizarre, convoluted, crazy thing in order to explain something, to explain around the fact that they don't know what they're doing. And they use long, complicated words and special ways in which they talk to essentially obfuscate the fact that they don't know what is going on here. And they can't explain it with their materialistic thinking. And if you look around the place, you will find that absolutely everywhere. You even find people who've got a little bit of an idea of what energy is and what it does, but then talking around the fact that they're actually talking about energy, again, using a lot of complicated words and obfuscations and disturbing the clear message as they go, to the point that it becomes completely unrecognizable. And of course, this has driven me wild for over 30 years. And I've never really talked about this much, but I have always walked away when this happened, that energy was being obfuscated, energy was being denied, energy was being edited out in order to get into the mainstream. You can't get into the mainstream or make a significant change with something that has been so twisted and watered down that it actually doesn't make sense anymore and that it doesn't work anymore. So I've kind of stuck with it. I've stuck with it for 30 years. And I'm now happy to say that I'm arrived at this turning point where I'm just saying, now I've had enough of this revolution. I call for a revolution. That's a revolution against the old materialistic paradigm, against the old so-called age of enlightenment. It's a revolution against the idea that people are just robots, biorobots, mechanical systems, that you can improve by implanting robotic parts into them. You know, man, I call for a absolute revolution against the measuring tools and the ideas where everything stops at zero and there is no happiness, there is no joy, there is no true enlightenment. I am 100% calling for a revolution against stress management programs that drive people into -4, into deep stress, and call that optimal stress. I am calling for a revolution against the cult of trauma that will hold that everything that's wrong with any of us is because of some childhood trauma, and that we've all ended up being these bags of misery, these terribly wounded beings, and we should behave accordingly. That needs absolutely a call against a revolution against the cult of trauma. Trauma is a terrible thing. Making a cult out of it is not the way forward or how to heal the people who have suffered this. God damn it, yes. Man, this is feeling good to say today. Oh man, so many places where I call for a revolution. Call for a revolution against any human system that is designed to break people down, disempower them, take away their energy, break their hearts, and break their spirits. In the modern energy paradigm, breaking somebody's spirit is not just a word or a phrase or a metaphor. It's not. It means damaging somebody's energy body, living energy body, beyond repair. That should be a crime. An absolute, people should be possibly moved on to the next incarnation for such a thing. And yet we have systems and structures being preached today that would try and achieve that. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. My proof for the fact that reductionist materialism has not worked is twofold. Number one, I was promised flying cars when I was 3 years old. Now that's 60 years ago, and we still don't have any flying cars. We also have no cure for cancer, or even anything remotely resembling a cure for cancer, or the common cold for that matter. So I'm, on a personal level, I'm quite disappointed. But on a sort of humanity level, I'm even more disappointed. We used to have these horrible religious wars when people explained everything with spirit and the gods, and everything was explained that way. you have a headache, or somebody shoots your head off, and that's explained by some spiritual intervention. And they used to have these wars all the time, people getting killed all the time, everybody in stress, nightmare. Along comes the age of enlightenment and reduces it all down to materialistic stuff. And what do we have? Worse wars, and more of them, and more horrendous of them than the old people ever managed under the old paradigm. This is my final proof to say, no, reductionist materialism has not worked. It has not worked. Where's the love? Well, it's not in reductionist materialism, is it? The power that creates the universe, that for which we live and hunger, doesn't even exist. And if something doesn't exist, of course, you can't go out and search it. Never mind actually find it. So yeah, I'm going to pick up my board here and wave it like a flag. Revolution. We need energy back in our lives, in our concepts, in our understanding of the world. And I am sick and tired of apologizing for what it is that I've learned and what I'm trying to tell people, because I think it's important and it's wonderful and uplifting. Well, hey, I'm going to pick a comment. Time to speak up. Bring it on. Yeah, I felt that way. I've been sort of feeling this gathering storm inside, if you want to call it that. And I have to say, Star Matrix has something to do with this. Being really clear on what I've been doing for the last 30 years, and before that, for the 30 years before that. What I've been trying to do, what I've been looking for, what I've been trying to accomplish in this world, what my mission is here, what my purpose is. Oh, and it sounds, no, I'm not going to apologize for it anymore. It sounds silly. No, it doesn't sound silly. I've always felt sorry for people. I've always wanted to help them. I always wanted to bring more happiness into this world somehow. From when I was a very small child, I was very acutely aware of the stress and the suffering of the people around me. And trust me, there was a lot of that. There was a mountain of that. It was overwhelming. But I decided, as a younger squirt, to do something about it, to do the best I could to somehow help alleviate that suffering and bring a bit of a spark of light back into people's incarnations. And this is what I've been doing all my life, in various ways, in various modalities. I've always tried. And I shall continue to try, but what I shan't continue to do is to apologize for that. I'm not going to apologize for this anymore. I promise you, if I should, through old habits and old train tracks in the brain, come out with a quantifier such as, oh, I want to tell you something, but you might think it's stupid. I'm just going to stop and give myself a take two. I'm going to tell you something. This has to be said, has to be done. Got to get there. Got to be done. Oh dear. Dear Bear, I think you will never know the extent of love you have brought to people's lives. It's huge. Oh, thank you very much. Yes. Yes, I do on some level appreciate it, but it's never enough, is it? For the billionaires, the money is never enough. No matter how much money they got, it's never enough. And for me, the amount of love and joy and positive change, I don't know if it's ever going to be enough. I'm going to keep trying for the rest of my days. And, you know, yeah, it feels like a turning point, a space-time turning point here is achieved the day we stand up and stop being on the back foot and stop being, on the run from the reductionist materialists and those who would call us fools, which is kind of hilarious. So I might do some voodoo on them and just stick them with little sticks for enlightenment, waking up, coming to their senses, all six of them. Six senses. We have six senses, not just five. Oh, my paradigm shift. So have a look what Linda says. Well said, and thankfully we're not alone anymore. There's a new wave of energy understanding. Our time is now. There are gatherings of like-minded every Sunday in Eastbourne Seafood all over the UK. Yep, excellent. That's what needs to be done. It needs to be, and it needs to be a new way of dealing with energy. Enough of the ancient whispers and what people were doing in monasteries and for 6,000 years ago. This was fine for them. I'm sure it was brilliant. But we really need the modern energy. Our brains are wired completely different to those old monks from the rural societies. And a lot of us are actually female women, and they were never factored in those old, I'm going to say the word, patriarchal societies. They just didn't even think about women. They didn't even think about them. Never mind creating an inclusive system, where an energy system that is inclusive of men and women and puts them back together in a group bubble, together with all the other people, however they may identify, and the children and the old people, and forming a human tribe bubble that is more than the sum of its parts. And the human tribe bubble brings in all this different information that a male-only bubble does not have access to. So yeah, we need modern energy. Absolutely. We need to come back to our own experiences with energy. It's only real when you feel it's real. And then it's real. Such a simple ground rule. Going back to our own star events with energy. The moments when we really understood important things and integrating and decoding more of that information so that our consciousness, our intelligence can get to play. Our human intelligence doesn't start to play until we understand something, really understand it, not just sort of, oh, I know, but I haven't got words, but actually really understand it in such a way you can talk about it, explain it, draw diagrams about it. And that's also a big part of modern energy. Rather than taking a big sort of holy person's word for it, to make it your own, to run your own experiments, have your own experiences with it. It's like, a few hundred years ago, it was thought that only aristocrats could learn to read and write because it was a special magical skill. And we can do that now, most of us, pretty well, and we don't think anything of it. And like in the ancient days, in order to do anything with energy or understand it or be able to talk about it, was a super rare skill. Super rare. You'd have to be some kind of superhuman being in order to do that, like the reading and writing. It turns out that's not so, and that we can do that, and we can ourselves experiment and understand and learn, and we are intelligent enough to do that. Whew. Yes. Guys, I could really go on about this until the cows come home. And yes, and get milked, and lovely milkshakes are made from their product. But I think I'm really preaching to the choir here. We need to bring this message out there to more people. We need to bring modern energy out there to more people. Um, the book that I did called Revolution, with my own face on it and holding up the E, that's like a very first step on my part to really reach out, because the world of people is so stressed right now. And I don't see this getting any better anytime soon. And so depressed and beaten down and hopeless, hopeless and fractionated. We need to come back together. And I believe that modern energy is a place where we can come back together in some form of mutual desire, joined desire for health and happiness and real freedom. I believe that is a place where we can come together beyond all the things that divide us. The modern energy chart is so structural, it's so deep. It goes back to observed animal behavior, and that goes back millions of years, possibly billions of years of evolution, to develop these social mammal energy systems that are in contact with each other. Wow, and create societies. That's a really basic thing, a basic ancient thing. It's much older than the monks standing on a leg, pretending to be a crane 6,000 years ago in China. Ooh. All right, guys, if you have any comments on this, by all means, let me know. I want to send Dear Bear, who is at the moment in a plaster cast and is forced to rest and not do the things that she normally does, and now has to find other things to do instead. Hopefully that are going to be unique to this time spent and valuable, really valuable. That this time spent in not being able to do the normal things is explored for what it could bring and what additional benefits it could bring to the life overall, which is an unusual way of looking at such things, rather than sitting and wishing it was all gone away and we could go all back to normal. I send you lots of love, and if you've got trouble sleeping, let me know. I've got this very useful thing called the Deep Trance Lullaby, which is just perfect for such situations. And I will gladly send you a copy, my dear. Righty-ho, so yeah. Reductionist materialism sucks. And I just love saying that. It does. I'm right about it. We need now a really inclusive paradigm, an energy inclusive paradigm that at the same time isn't going nuts, but stays logical. That stays logical. Oh man, form and function, material and immaterial, is part of they're not separate. They are like my body and my energy body are in the same place at the same time. They're not separate. They are created to work together. They are, in fact, one system, one system. And if we look at everything in that way, like a landscape or a computer problem or a book or an industrial facility. Look at that not just as a material thing, churning out material objects, but in this expanded view of it being a material object and an energy object. And the people who wander around in this factory, they are physical bodies and energy bodies. That's a perfect example of that pattern I love so much, which is called increasing the complexity. It doesn't make it more complicated to deal with the factory and all the people who are wandering around in it and the objects they produce. It doesn't make it more complicated. It actually makes it easier when we have more information, when we have more measurable facts, when we have more oversight, we're getting more of actual reality that's happening there. Because reducing reality is not the answer. Then we create a reality divergence. And I believe the massive reality divergence from which we are suffering and that has all these terrible side effects is direct result of reductionist materialism. That's our punishment for getting away from the great creative order, which has rules that no human can break. I find that so soothing, so soothing. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, Bear. I will get that in the virtual mail for you as soon as possible. All right, guys. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for being here with me this morning and allowing me the space to speak my mind on the topic of, the modern world and modern energy. I believe that I have created a system that's not a be all and end all, but it is a starting point for a new science of love that needs to take its place most urgently in the mystical halls of science and human logic and intelligence. How anybody ever thought we were going to make it without a science of love? I literally have no idea. It's just a crazy notion if you think about it. But love is not random. Energy isn't random. It is predictable. It is measurable by its effects on other things. It is interesting. It's very, very interesting. It connects the dots, answers so many questions that could otherwise not be answered, and above all else, opens new pathways in research that would never have been there without it. That's super powerful, and I think it could take humanity to the next level. Okay, my darlings, I wish you a fantastic day, a fantastic week. And if you feel moved to share my video with your followers and your social media followers, please do that. There may be a lot of people out there who are just still in hiding, who haven't come out of the energy closet yet, who are afraid what their neighbors or their husbands or whoever might think of them if they were to say, I believe in love. My, oh my, what heresy. What heresy. I think there's more of us than we know because of that silent majority who has been thinking this for a long time, but obviously couldn't feel that they could stand up and say it. So I'm saying it for all of us today, and I am opening the floodgates officially for all all entities who wish to come and join this endeavor to bring a new science of love to the world of humans, because my God, do we need it. On that happy note, have a fantastic week, and I will see you next week. Sunday Life with Sylvia. Bye for now. Don't you know